Plans are in the making for this year's Roslindale Porch Fest happening on September 16th. The event's organized by the Roslindale Arts Alliance. To tell us what's being lined up is the group's president and co-founder, Glenn Williams. Thank you very much for being with us, Glenn.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate the invitation.
I want to start with a little bit of the history.
Sure.
You know, you're starting this, 1 year after JP Porch
Right.
Fest, which was imported from another place.
Right.
But
yeah, Somerville had this really great, and it's not something that's just kind of isolated to our part of the country. I mean, it's done a lot of places. And being a musician and being friends with a lot of the musicians in the Roslindale area, we saw what was happening in Jamaica Plain, and it was so successful the first time out. I said, you know, why not try and see if we can follow up with that here in Roslindale? And we did, and it was very well received, and now we're kind of off and running.
Well, talk about the ingredients here, because sometimes you have these journeyman artists who look for any place they can find to play, and then on the other hand, you've got people right from the neighborhood too.
Yeah, we do have. There is that great mix. You know, one of the things we've discovered is that a lot of people that are signing up their porches are saying, you know, my cousin Frank plays in a little band and they'd like to play there at this certain time, or someone's saying, I'm playing on my porch. You know, but I think the real byproduct of Roslindale Porch Fest, and I hope that it's the way in other communities too, is it has turned out the people into the community. We've got many reports of people who have decided to have block parties on that day because it's a time for them to kind of meet their neighbors and invite their families out to kind of meet and greet each other. Because, you know, as in a lot of neighborhoods, we're beginning to get a little isolated. I'm here for work and I run around and I don't really get a chance to meet my neighbors. But the first year we had it, I ended up playing on a porch, and there was a woman who'd been living in the community for about 2 or 3 years, but really didn't know her neighbors. So what she did was she said, I'm going to have an open house that day, and now they've kind of developed this little neighborhood group that they get together a couple of times a year now.
I got to push you into one for disclosure here. You are a seasoned performer. You know what you're doing. What's the big deal about playing on a porch?
You know, it's that neighborhood feel. It's that neighborhood feeling. And anybody who's a singer-songwriter, guitarist that kind of likes to play out in the outside, they'll tell you that sometimes sitting on the back porch or sitting on the front porch and just kind of doodling around is very enjoyable. It's relaxing for the performer, and it makes the people that come and join you nice and welcoming. It's a welcoming feeling, sitting on the porch, you know. This
is BNN News, and we're talking with Glenn Williams from the Roslindale Arts Alliance. Glenn, of course, the other thing you've got to do in selling this to the community is you got to get people to donate their porch. Now, people don't automatically get up and say, I want a bunch of people coming into my yard today to hear somebody play a guitar.
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. We've gotten that. The first year was kind of skeptical a little bit because I think people went down to Jamaica Plain and it was so overwhelming in there that they were like, oh my goodness, this is going to be kind of this really big overwhelming thing. But we've kind of developed a style where porches are going to be playing. Someone's going to start at 1:30, then someone's going to start at 3, you know, and then someone's going to start at 4:15 at another place. So they're not simultaneously competing with each other. So there is that opportunity to look at your map or go onto the web and say, well, I'd like to see Tim Casey here and Mr. Kurt's playing at that time, you know, and so you get to kind of move around the neighborhood. We try not to make it competitive or overwhelming.
We're going to bring up a little clip from one of your previous performances.
Oh, okay.
I Got a Feeling in it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Glenn, that's Beatles vintage 1970 or so, but you're going to be getting quite a mix of things. This is not just one kind of music.
No,
here.
One of the things we actually actively went out to get this year, we wanted to get a cultural representation of the community. We wanted to make sure that we had music that it wasn't all Glenn's playing his guitar and singing Beatles songs. You know, we wanted to make sure that we had world music there as well, some Latin jazz, some big band. We're going to have some opera outside of Tony's Market on Washington Street, 4 guys singing opera for an hour. You know, that kind, making sure that we get this cultural blend of what our neighborhood represents. That's been kind of the Roslindale Arts Alliance motto for a long time is to culturally represent through the arts the people that live in our community. And
Well, now that you mentioned Tony's Market, I guess one of the ripple effects of these events is that they tend to filter out from the porches maybe to the commercial center.
Yep.
Yet we're here, you discover Roslindale Village, a
Yep.
place to eat and drink maybe.
Sure. Well, that's Main Street's doing, and Main Street obviously is a large supporter of ours. And we're using Fornax Bakery, for instance, on Corinth Street, has that little parklet outside where you can sit and enjoy your beverage and enjoy your what have you. There, we're putting Betsy Hinkle and her kids playing classical music, sitting out there. And Mr. Kurt and Jeff are going to be doing some pop duo things out there. So yeah, it brings more people down into the community, and also we're also working with Reds and Rosie. Reds and Rosie is going to host our after party. So this is bringing people down into our neighborhood. I've been with Main Streets for years, and that mission there is to make sure that people not only appreciate and recognize their neighborhood, but they use it. So we want to make sure we're inviting people down to see what Rosie Square has to offer, and also get out into the neighborhoods and meet the guy down the street across that they don't necessarily know.
Now, I know there's still some time left, but if you need any more porches,
Yes.
performers, volunteers.
Always.
Yes.
Always. August 1st is the deadline that we're kind of using for people to register, and for bands and porches. We've had a great response so far this year. I can't even give you a kind of count right now because there's still people are still coming in. You know how that last 2 weeks can be before an event. But we're going to be upwards to, I'll bet we have 70 acts and about 60 porches, maybe 70 or 80 bands. Playing around Roslindale for a Saturday afternoon is phenomenal.
And they should check out the website if they want to follow up.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And that is,
and it's Roslindale Porch Fest.
Thank you very much for being with us.
No, Chris, thank you. It's always a pleasure to come over and see you.
From the Roslindale Arts Alliance, Glenn Williams.